Hey everyone, this is Coffee with Soul. This is the show where I try to run the clock. Try to run the clock, make the YouTube video as long as possible. Just totally kidding. Sorry for the awkward sound check there. But a big hello and a not kiss. Yeah, that was awkward. And a not kiss to Jalzan. You get a point. And to Jeppy. And to Coffee Fiend. Nice knowing ya. And of course, to all the other beautiful digital smiling faces who will be joining us at some point today, I hope. Today, yesterday wasn't exactly a wow day. I was hoping that it would be, but not really. But maybe we'll jump in on that stuff today. There's some stuff that I want to get caught up on, and maybe I'll mess with an alt. Ugh. No, I think I already psyched myself out of that. No, I don't think I will do that. But yesterday was busy. It was busy. It was a little bit awkward. I was trying my best to finish my write up on my thoughts on the idea of respecting players' time, and I think we'll talk about that at least for a little bit today, because I do intend to have a published and rehearsed and scripted video out tomorrow. That's kind of the plan there. But in the meantime, yesterday was awkward. I think the team felt a little bit off yesterday. We had like one or two new people, and we were just trying to smash through normal real quick so we can get to heroic. And for whatever reason, we just couldn't do Fate Scribe. Fate Scribe was just like killing us. The coordination of getting people out there to run the thingy around or whatever just wasn't happening. It unfortunately just wasn't happening. We were struggling for a little bit. I mean, we eventually got through it, but then we just lost a bit too much time, so we couldn't take out Sylvanas. We squeezed in, I think, two polls, and we almost got to the end. We got to like 50.3% or something like that, but then we were way into our overtime, and I'm like, nope, sorry guys, that's it. Because this wasn't progression, right? You know, we have her on farm, but she farmed us. Psh, bugger. But couple of small topics that I wanted to bring up. Otherwise, things that I didn't really talk about or notice, but things that I think are noteworthy to rant over for a little bit. I saw that yesterday there was a hotfix from Blizzard. I don't have it written down anywhere. Apparently. I guess I didn't know this before, but you now need to have a level 60 character in order to post groups in the Mythic Plus or the Raid channels in the pre-made group tool. I did not know that you do not need to be level 60 for that, and I find that kind of baffling, especially for Mythic Plus, because obviously you need to be level 60 in order to do Mythic Plus stuff. But as for the raids, I'm not familiar enough with the navigation of it. I'm just kind of reacting fresh to like some of this news that I just read today. When it comes to raids, I mean, you can technically select older content, I believe, which isn't level 60 stuff. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure how those restrictions work, but it just sounds like, oh yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Now this is meant to reduce the amount of spam. Like I looked at some of the reactions from folks, and it seems to be largely positive. It's a mix of, hey, that's great, and grr, why didn't you do that before? I'm so angry again. I don't really understand that side of it. I think the positive is what we should focus on. Yeah, I do think it's good, and yeah, I guess I do agree that it's like, oh, why wasn't that like a thing before? But at the same time, it only does enough to reduce that sort of spam. If you do like just a blank search of like, just do nothing but press +15 or type +15 in the search, you might find some weird results. But as for something that is hot fixable, apparently, okay, cool. That's... Well, how can we complain about that, right? Galifaxis says the pre-made tool change is really good. It'll definitely hurt the promotions that are constantly going on there. Now, I talked about some add-ons just the other day, and I apologize. I totally forgot the names of them, which makes this statement totally pointless. But there are effective add-ons that help to curb some of that spam as well. Even World Quest Tracker, has its own options in there where you look and then you see like a little tiny box that says ban if you happen to see something that should be banned, and it'll only flag those that look pretty obvious. I guess it has its own filter, but it won't exactly filter those groups out. It just has that button so you can like ban it yourself, or maybe it adds a reporting function to it, with a single click instead of having to right click and then report for advertising and that sort of stuff. I'm still of the mindset though that the filters are good as a hotfix. Anything to help you out, great. But as for a long-term solution, I would just prefer one of two things. One, to just tell people to just stop doing it. Stop doing the advertising. But I don't think that would really do anything. I think at best, trying to corral it into one spot, like what many people have said, just have a dedicated tab in the group finder, or a dedicated chat channel just for selling those boosts, and then that'll be the big trash can of WoW, and so it'll be a closed system for people who are trying to sell boosts and people who are interested in buying them, because there's no reducing the demand. That's the important thing. I think what we're seeing here, thanks to the massive availability of gold, whether you get it yourself or you get it via WoW token, is that you have people who are empowered to buy these to buy these carries. So you're going to the demand isn't going to go anywhere. I just think that the mess, the clutter that comes from that industry is super annoying. It's super annoying. It's bad optics. It lets people carry on with conversations about how awful it is that we are so controlled by this gold carry dystopia, where we don't really know if it's true. Everything that we hear is, well, I do this and blah, 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 or, well, I heard something. It's all anecdotal stuff, and we don't really know any better. But it doesn't mean that I don't like it. And it doesn't mean that we can't demand suggestions and demand changes that make things better. So taking the non-level 60s out of this channel, great. Hello to Zanil. Hi. Oh, another thing that another hotfix that went through just a little bit ago, one that I think is also very impactful, is that there's going to be more Korthite that comes from the weekly chest for the Shaping Fate quest, or whenever you get a daily that gives Korthite. I recall even yesterday, I was like, I was just doing some quests and blah blah blah, and I turned all that stuff in, and I was like, whoa, I got like 3 Korthite from this. Usually I'm used to getting like 1, maybe 2, something like that. Maybe there was 2. I forgot. But that's insane. That's huge. That's doubling, tripling the amount of Korthite that can potentially come in. Now, 9.1 started with like, whoa, hell of people are coming in, and then it started to trickle down as it usually does, or it fell off, however you want to interpret it. But the fact that we're going to get more Korthite hopefully means that the prices of rank 6s are going to go down. Someone got 5? Holy moly. Well, hot damn. Okay, so I think I got 3 from mine, but I think that was before the hotfixes were posted. So maybe I got it pre-hotfix, and now this is yeah. So that's even crazier. Dude, this is like a garage sale. Just making this stuff rain, which I think is mostly good. I think this is great, especially if you consider like some of my guildmates. One of them, runs a whole bunch of alts, and they do the Shaping Fate quest, and they just buy the Korthite, they sell all the crystals, and then all of a sudden, boom, almost 100 grand or whatever a day. So that's what I mean when I am not. Actually, let me walk that back. Whenever people are challenged about getting gold, there are solutions. Now, this now what I just talked about with my guildmate, running all of his alts, that takes work. You got to prep all that stuff. Just like for me to say, oh yeah, just set up a mission table and then you can just, watch all the resources just rain on you and then sell it on the market and then you're good to go. That also involves a whole lot of prep. But I also recommend to players who are like, hey, dude, I'm broke, I got no choice. This is the only thing that I can do, yada, yada, yada. I would at least challenge those folks who need that gold or want that gold and are struggling and feel like they have no choice but to get a WoW token. I challenge them to at least consider those sorts of time investments, because it pays huge dividends. It took me a while to get my glyph empire, to get that whole machine up and running. I needed to learn things. I needed to research. I had to get the add-ons and learn how to use those and other such things. And now, I've made like 50 million or so gold just doing glyphs and gliders, and that's about it. Just that. And so that's the whole thing on that. But yeah, going back to Korthite. I do expect prices to start downtrending. There are still a lot of costs to it, though. Between the Aurora Boreal whatever shards, like those are crazy expensive as vendor mats. So there's still going to be like that minimum cost, but I wouldn't be surprised if eventually like Korthite crystals, I'm going to say on average they go for like the high 2s or 3Ks or so. I think it's going to go, I think that after this, it may dip down to the teens. Now, Blizzard could have done other things too. They could have lowered the requirements. They could have made Korthite, crystals the Vestige of Origins, have the material requirement go down to 20 from 40. I believe it's 40 right now. And then, dipping it down to 20 would be like, oh, snap, that really like would increase the availability, because there's only so much demand for Korthite crystals and Vestiges of Origins or otherwise rank 6s. I guess this is just the route that they decided to take. And if there is a different route that's, and if probably someone smarter can tell me, hey, they could, if they did it like this, then here's the bad thing that could have came out of it. Sure. But this is the route that Blizzard decided to take. And this seemed easy. Actually, I think probably reducing the requirement for the Vestige probably is less hot fixable than just giving more stuff from quest rewards. That probably could have been it. But overall, I do like that change. It's going to make it more accessible. It also brings up a bit of conversation about the people that can make these rank 4s / rank 6s. And it's been debatable. I've taken the stance that I like that setting up a crafter to make these high-level recipes is a huge resource and gold investment. You need stupid amounts of resources in order to get your crafting up to these levels. But it's paying huge, I think that it's paying huge dividends too, between the sales that you're and the availability of you being able to sell rank 4s, like because rank 4s are the hot ticket right now. And I'm pretty sure Blizzard is noticing. It's like, oh man, there's lots of people that are settling on rank 4s. There aren't a whole lot of people with rank 6s because of the prohibitive cost. Let's do something about it. But going back to the crafters, it's a lot of work that goes into it. I spent about 300 some thousand gold just so I could get rank 4s, just so I can make rank 4s for my blacksmith. Just in the waste slot. That's it. I spent that much money just so I could make my own thing, which isn't a good idea. Don't be in Shadowlands. Don't be a crafter if you're just making it for yourself. You're just better off relying on the industrious people who have developed that for themselves, but we're also kind of at their mercy too, and increasing the availability of materials is helping to curb some of their power. But I still like that these crafters have made for themselves. They kind of carve themselves into being infamous of sorts, because it's like, hey, now I can make all these things, and there aren't a whole lot of people that can do it. And it's going to pay off, and it does. So I do appreciate the role play that comes out of it. Unfortunately, it just comes at the expense of individual crafters who want to feel cool with the thing that they can make, because there aren't a lot of cool things that we can make. Like, if it wasn't for that one waste that I can make, it's like, oh, what can I make in Shadowlands that's really cool as a blacksmith? I forgot. If someone wants to remind me, cool. But otherwise, Shadowlands crafting just doesn't really offer, well, WoW crafting just doesn't offer a whole lot. So I do have some expectations for 9.2 and even 9.1.5. I'm hoping that they add like some cool things, like give us a Blingtron, give me a broker based Blingtron. That's a tongue twister. Broker, whatever. I'm not even gonna try it anymore. But I'm hoping for like some better things. Let's see. Ponky Monster says that he's got 10 level 60 alts, item level 200 with CM3s. Why do I not know what that means? And Korthite gear. The whiteboard daily is to either get gear or crystals. Yesterday it was 3 crystals for an easy elite, and you got 30 crystals just like that. Vestige being 400 lightless silk for tailors is criminal. Really? I guess it's because like my guild has like amassed tons and tons and tons of silk that we're like, what do we do with this? I don't know. We'll just see. My guild bank is pretty rich, so let's see. Dude, I want to talk about the Mons stuff. What's Mons stuff? Fellplake is asking. But in other news, respecting players' time is not really a thing. The whole point of games is to waste time. If there's no need to spend time to do something, there is no work. He continues on to say, like, if you made a raid too hard, that can be not respecting players' time because they have to spend tons of time. Engineering especially was ruined in Shadowlands. Was it ruined? I think it didn't get love, but I don't think it got ruined. Like, did they break it? I don't remember. Oh, Crafter's Mark. There we go. Mon stuff is Pokemon. We'll say that for a little bit later. So like I said earlier, I'm still working on an article. It's a pretty long article right now that goes over respecting players' time, and I think I got it. It was with the help of the Twitter folks. I just straight up asked, "Hey, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you to respect players' time?" Because I'm just not getting it, and I think it's important to come down from my mountain and make it clear, hey, you know what? I'm not getting it. Help me out here. Not because I need to be convinced, because I may not agree. In fact, I don't agree in a lot of respects, but I want to understand where people are coming from, and I think I get it. And it's very simple. It makes me, again, not appreciate like statements, like phrases like these, respecting my time, blah, 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 without just saying more plainly what you mean. It goes back to an old statement that I said in my own critiques of World of Warcraft, that there is too much time spent preparing your character and not enough time spent playing as your character. And by that I'm talking about like raid prep or the preparation that you need to get our characters up and running. Once upon a time, it was only get the gear, get the enchants. Sometimes you need to rep up with a faction so you can get access to recipes or gear or things like that. And then for the most part, you're good to go. Then you insert yourself into a closed loop of, okay, I'm going to run dungeons and get the gear from that until I'm done. And then I'm going to go up to raids, and then I'm going to run the raids because that's where I get the gear and I get the upgrades and yada, yada, yada. These days, it's different. These days, there are a lot of additive things where players are kind of pulled in different directions. You got to run Torghast because you got to get your legendary things. You got to run Korthite content, because that seems to be the arguably maybe faster way to get a whole bunch of those conduit upgrade things. And then you got, or you got to go back to Torghast and make sure that you farm the adamant vault so you can get another one of those upgrades. Now that's a little debatable, because there are, there's a minimum requirement, or there's like a minimum / casual way to get your character prepped to, like, cool, you want to get your 226 conduits? Cool, easy, no problem. You just do Korthite stuff. But even then, it's like, oh, this is kind of unrelated content. And that's, I think, at the crux of what's going on, in my opinion, with respecting players' time. And I'm going to have a lot more to say in this published video that I'll have out tomorrow. The notion of having to do or run content that you may not like, but you're doing it because there's a thing that you need in order to run the actual thing that you want to do. And I think that covers a lot. It doesn't cover everything. Folks have given like all sorts of different answers across the board, and I get that. But that's what I'm kind of focusing on the most. I think that's given the biggest impact. I mean, some people have said, well, I don't think I want to run 2 Torghasts a week to get the Soul Ash or Soul Cinders that I need, or the Adamant Vaults or whatever. That's Blizzard increasing playtime, which is another thing that I'm like, okay, that's going in a direction that's totally a slippery slope. It's like, I have to wait for this. God, something increasing playtime ActiBliz. So I don't buy into that. But the whole notion of doing things that you don't want to do because you need something for something else, that's gonna be what that'll be my focal point. My big take on like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then to follow up on that a little bit, the notion of, okay, I'm doing all this work. New season comes. Cool. There's new content, more stuff to get. The treadmill continues. That's nothing new. But we also have all these catch-ups that let alts or new players get boom. They just get slingshotted to whatever's current. That makes that other person be like, oh man, I put a whole lot of work into that, and then now it just feels like, oh, that's all. Maybe I should have just waited. So I think those two things are what I'll be kind of focusing on. But if any of you want to chime in with your thoughts too, either here live, hi live people, or in the comments for people who are on the VOD, that'll help to frame my conversation, because I want to give feedback on that, and I also want to give suggestions. Like I have this crazy idea, maybe I'll share it in a little bit, about Torghast and what Blizzard coulda, woulda, shoulda done with Torghast in order to make it feel more appreciated. If not fun, at least more appreciated by the right audience. Fellas is crying over the engineering stuff. 1 reskin pet, no mounts. The gun makes is bad. The gear it makes is horrid, and it's the only profession that has no single parts in the legendary crafting scheme. Every other profession supplies something to legendary crafting. I thought you can make. I thought there was something that you can make that you can apply to it. Oh well. If anything, I'm still. It's still the best. You know what makes it the best? The wormhole. The wormhole makes engineering the best profession. It makes up for all of it in spades. And you can't say no, it doesn't. Okay. We can debate it, but you would lose. Grats to Peter on mount number 400. Dreyfus says that I really like the Demon Invasion pre-patch event. It felt like a really nice way to quickly level alts to max level before the expansion came out. While it is now quicker to level from 1 to 60, it still seems like leveling from 50 to 60 is slow. I wish there were just a few quick ways to level outside of questing, and possibly with this new time walking buff. I wish the level 60 boost took you to 60 and not 50. That's not going to happen until the end of the expansion. It's not going to happen until the new expansion pre-order thing goes on sale. That's typically how it works. Torghast is a lost cause now. Now I'm going to say it here, and I'm going to say it in this video for tomorrow. I enjoy Torghast. I like doing it. Sometimes I'll do it because, so what am I going to do today? Play other games, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do a round of Torghast. I feel like playing Dynasty Warriors and all that. Maybe I'll get into the Adamant Vaults this time. Let's see how it goes. Oh, I didn't get in. Bummer. Okay, bye. But I still enjoy doing it. I don't mind. If guildies need help, let's go. Let's go. It's not to the point where I would do it for free. You know, where I would just be like, hey, I'll like help random people out on the server, you know, just to fuck with the people that are trying to sell Torghast friends. Selling Torghast friends. That's a weird thing. They should have added a knowledge thing to Torghast. Yes, the wormhole is good because it's great. I like Torghast too, but walking around is slow. Really wish I had an upgrade to give us bonus speed at the research tree. You need walking speed of all things? When there's like the jumping anima power, there's the maw rat harness anima power. There are numerous things that you could use too. You like it in your guildies do too. Yeah, so the idea that I have with so help me out with this. I'm gonna have this. I hope to present this for tomorrow, but I guess I'm kind of like giving an early spoiler. So think of Torghast as it is right now, with some changes. One, there's no soul ash. There's no loop. The legendaries and Torghast have no relationship. I don't know what to do with legendaries, but let's shove it aside. All right, let's put it somewhere else. All right. When you take legendaries out of the when you take legendaries and that sort of loop out of Torghast, there's nothing left. Almost. There's just some cosmetics, the Adamant Vault. And that's it. There's very, very little that ties people into Torghast. But you know what? Maybe that's okay. Maybe that can be okay because we can tie something else to it. Now, I think one of the conflicting things about Torghast and legendaries is that they're not very closely related. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. We're doing something that we may not necessarily like, but it has something that we need because we want to use this for what we actually want to do. So if you take that out, then we got to ask ourselves, okay, what is Torghast going to be for if it's not going to be for like this high level progression sort of related thing? And the thought that I have in mind is, well, let's instead have it tied to casual sorts of stuff. Now, there are some cosmetics in there, whoop-de-doo. But imagine this. Imagine if at the Covenant Sanctum, you get your two, let's pretend it's patch 9.0, start of Shadowlands. And every day or every week, we go to our Covenant Sanctum, we pick up that one quest to get anima. Okay. And then we get that other quest to save souls. Okay, cool. But a big source of this anima isn't just from world quests, and where we get souls is not from the maw. We get all this stuff from Torghast. So the idea that's in my head is that instead of going into Torghast to collect soul, to sneak in kind of and collect soul ash and all that stuff, instead we go in there as a kind of casual raid, a mini raid. We're breaking in so we can steal some stuff like anima. We can get anima from Torghast. And redeem souls, they're not in the maw anymore, they're in Torghast. Actually, they were for a little while. I believe we got credit back in the alpha, I believe. You got credit for saving, clicking those souls. Those counted towards your 5, 10, 15, 20 souls that you would save per week. So again, the idea is to have a close relationship between the Covenant Sanctum and Torghast. So it's like, lore-wise, the Covenant Sanctum people are like, all right, dude, anima drought. We got to do something about this stuff. You know where the anima is? With the people that stole it, right? So let's go there and, because you can go in there, Maw Walker, and go steal crap for us. Go, 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 go. And we'll give you things, right? We'll give you perks. We'll give you boosts and all that stuff to help you like farm that place like faster and with more fun stuff. So it's kind of like saying, have the Covenant Sanctum rewards include the Venari perks that we're familiar with, even the Box of Many Things that we're also familiar with, but just tie it into a loop that takes us between Torghast, Covenant Sanctum, Torghast, Covenant Sanctum. Make that the best place to get anima. I mean, we could still have anima rewards out there in the world and all that stuff too. But if we tied that together, I think that would have made Torghast a much better and more casual experience. And there's a lot more to add to that too. These are just kind of surface thoughts that are sort of coming to mind, and a couple thoughts that I had written down. The question though is, what happened to the Maw? I feel like we're pretty much sacrificing all that the Maw 9.0 provided, because there wouldn't be any more souls to save. There wouldn't be any more Venari perks to get. So it's like, what are you there for? Whatever's out there, rares, and that's nothing. There's very little to nothing out there. So I almost would think that in a theoretical Shadowlands of this design, that the Maw wouldn't even be a thing. It wouldn't even be a zone. It wouldn't even be active in 9.0. It would come back. All we would get is the opening experience, and then some of the questing. There's some of the campaign quests that take us into the Maw, but that's it. Just no Maw in 9.0. 9.1 is when we finally revisit the Maw with the backing of the Covenants and all that stuff. And then it's just a playground of violence, right? Covenants are making war all over the place. We're fighting all these dudes. And that's it. So, all those things that were pissing us off earlier, like the Eye of the Jailer and all that stuff, just kind of scrub that out of your head. And we would get this sort of experience instead. Meanwhile, Torghast would be updated with just more cosmetics and, more rewards that you would get from your Covenant Sanctum, like some of the skins, or just additional, or additional skins or things like that. Meanwhile, legendaries will be off in its own world. And the whole idea again is to let casual content be casual, let progression content be progression. I think that domination shards, they have their kinks to them, but I think it works out great because domination shards are an entirely raid centric thing. Where do you get the shards? The raid. Where do you get the gear? The raid. Where do you get the upgrades for this stuff? The raid. You're not doing anything extra. You're not doing anything exactly on the side, except with the exception of the world boss drops one shard, or the weekly events, like this week's dungeon event. That gives a chance for heroic gear, for heroic raid gear, which happens to maybe include a domination socket, sort of piece of gear. So I'm okay with things like that, but largely, I think if Blizzard can take on a new sort of paradigm where they stop trying to tie content together, let it be separate, is gonna be like the big takeaway. Let that sort of stuff be separate, and I think that you'll find players, they'll fall into these sorts of buckets. They're gonna be doing this content, and they'll almost entirely avoid other stuff. Blizzard tried it with the Covenant Sanctum and the rewards that you get from that. That's basically casual stuff. No one really needs, if you're a high-end PvPer, you don't need to give a lick about powering up the Sanctum and doing all that stuff, because it's just going to give you things that you may not really care for. But if they just tied more casual content together, and then have progression stuff just be in smaller enclosed loops without people being pulled in multiple directions, I think that would work out. Now, that's only one example. I'm not, there are other things to consider, like what would we do with legendaries and how would conduits work and other such things. But I can see, I can kind of envision a sort of balance where Blizzard can make these short-term borrowed power systems, because we had them before with tier gear, but have them be earnable in such a way that it's not dragging us in like every which way direction. That makes it a little bit tough. Let me read chat a little bit before we wrap up the coffee portion of today. There's a blessing that makes you fast. As a warlock, the powers don't work. They delete your pets. Wow, wow, wow. Pac-Man 6 says Torghast is for pain. I wish some of the legendaries didn't come from the raid, especially if you start leveling an alt now. It's an hour or more to queue, and it's very frustrating. Now, there is that item that you can farm for that lets you just learn a legendary memory. And there was also a hotfix that allows you to buy those items as well. Thank you, DM Brokaw, for that Prime sub, by the way. Yeah. I feel and assault. I feel that 9.1 mod content was meant to be at launch, huh? And they delayed it with the zone and added it as 9.1. That could have been it. That's a tough one. And good morning. The mod was ruined the moment Blizzard gave us what we wanted. Originally, the mod was to farm keys for Torghast, but said that we love Torghast so much that we wanted to spam it, so remove the keys, and they did. That was a big thing too. By taking that loop, by breaking, that loop that would have existed between the mod and Torghast, that kind of killed it. So I'm sure they were like, okay, what sort of relationship do we make instead? Let's have upgrades be, let's have Torghast upgrades be related to the mob, which I find to be unrelated. To be honest, I found it weird that in order to progress through Torghast better, we need to run the Maw and get Stygia and get Rep, so Venari could help us. Venari never took a step into Torghast. She'd be like, nah, I'm good. You guys do your thing, all right? So I think that the relationships and the tie-ins just didn't work out, unfortunately. My guildmate mentioned that he mentioned you because he said hi. It was cool. Hi, Bienes. Having the legendaries we craft from Torghast gives us bonus powers in Torghast would have been great, like being able to infuse it with one enemy power of your choice. Think RNG upgrade slot machine for conduits is bad. Skeleton says, I think there's value in having rewards from content. A, being relevant, and content B, but people will always hesitate when they feel they are required to do content that they don't enjoy for the content that they do. Now, one important thing to point out is that this hypothesis or this, this thought of doing this because you want this to do that, there are people that have fun with it, right? There are people that just deal with it. Like I have it in the write-up that me as a gamer, when I look at how these loops and how all these things tie in together, my response isn't, ooh, this isn't respecting my time. It's simply, okay, this is what I got to do. Let's freaking go. Because as a gamer, that's just what I do. Or, this is just me speaking for me, all right? This isn't me trying to talk nobody down. But I look at these challenges, I look at the gauntlet, and then I make decisions. Most of the time, the decision is, all right, let's do it. There is no choice. If this is the challenge that's being put before me, this is the designer challenging me to do these things, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to get rewarded for it. Except for the Bloodlink thing. That's buggy. And I hope they get that fixed. I'll complain about bugs all day. But not everyone enjoys it. And so because of that, I think that in order to reduce friction, I think there are different approaches that they could take. I'm pretty much talking up this whole video at this point. Dang it. I'm still going to publish something separately, though, for those who aren't interested in the live show. Let's see. I don't think that transmog and mounts are sustainable alternate progression to the end of time. I do agree with that, Nate. Excuse me. I do agree with that. But I also believe that there could have been something better. Like there could have, like, if gear dropped from Torghast, and this lets you get gear that made you like cooler in Torghast or in world content or whatever, or it at least served as the universal catch up for alts. You want to level up your alt from 50 to 60? Go to Torghast. You want to get your item level up to almost Raid Finder difficulty? Go to Torghast. And on top of that, this special gear from Torghast has a super multiplier where there's anima powers, where Torghast gear is, has its stats increased by 1,000% or something stupid like that. Then I'll be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to wear this gear. And then you just go in and it's Dynasty Warriors. So there are ideas that could be thought up in order to make something like Torghast feel like a little bit cooler. Tying it to something that is definitely necessary for endgame progression has proven, from all this discourse and everything, it's proven to be questionable. It's proven to be debatable and something that is worth having a conversation over. I think that's fair. Let's see. Sinless Sinner says that Blizzard will lose more people before the end of this expansion and then won't get them back if they don't start implementing alt-friendly systems early into the patches. I wanted to play my Demon Hunter today, then I had to do all of the mall intro. I said F that and logged off. I'm pretty sure at this point it's a technical reason. It's weird, but I'm pretty sure there's a technical reason why they haven't implemented a MOS skip by now. 60% of the player base only plays one character. Yay! I'm part of the majority. Shadowgrove says, I feel that Mythic Plus and Raid and PvP have days or dailies that had pre-Legion would work, and adding a couple ability or talent row would have worked. I'm not quite getting that. Create a rank 1 legendary that gives you a choice of a common, rank 2, an uncommon or lower, rank 3 or lower. I don't know what you're talking about. WoW has no live bugs and servers are perfect. Wow, that's a bold claim. I just don't want to do those chores. I just don't want to do those chores in alts. Once was okay. Torghast specific gear or alt catch up / leveling in Torghast would make me so darn happy. Having an LFG for Torghast would be amazing for lower floors while also letting it be a way to level up and earn renown. Hi Menarg. I think you're onto something when making gear obtained from one type of content can be upgraded and becomes more powerful from repeating that content. That is pretty much what we're seeing now in domination shards and sets. It's not even so much getting the item level from those dom socket gear. It's just powering up and getting those shards. Definitely, when you're doing raid content, you want to have a set bonus, preferably whatever one is most optimal for you. And the way that domination shards work, you eventually are going to get a very powerful set. You are going to get all the shards. You are going to get you'll hopefully get all the... You're more than likely to get all the shards before you get all the socket pieces that you want. And hopefully between trading down and just hope and running all the different content that gets you that sort of gear, then you'll be able to get it. AJ Man says that the first MMO that I sunk lots of time into was Guild Wars 2. Hitting 80 means that all the endgame content is now viable, regardless of how long ago it released. WoW needs to change their idea of old... Oh, that's a different conversation, though. Let's see. I don't realize there was a Torghast intro skip until my 9th alt. The salt was real. Ooh, ouch. Let's see. When you create a legendary, you can infuse it at the root. That's... Okay, I don't want to get into like crazy, not crazy. I don't want to get into fast theories like that. I mean, I think I was already going a bit far with having the Torghast / Covenant relationship. Now I am the type of person that believes in the alt tax, that you got to put in some work with your alts. Some people have said, oh, we need to have our reputations be account wide. That's a popular one. Let's have our reputations be account wide and blah blah blah. But the counter to that, which I think a lot of people wouldn't like, is that, okay, if reputations are going to be account wide, that's going to mean that reputation, as in the rewards, if that's going to be account wide, that kind of means that reputation earning needs to be account wide too. And by that, I mean, let's pretend Death's Advance, the faction in Korthite. If reputation is going to be account wide, those 4 quests that you do, you can only do them once per account, right? That would be the fair approach for it. Or I guess it would need to be kind of recoded in a way that when you do the quest, it's only going to count, you only get rep once, right? Because there are systems like that available. Blingtron quests are only doable once per account, and I have multiple accounts. I have multiple accounts. Multiple WoW accounts in my BattleNet account. You can do it once across the entire BattleNet account, or like I said, have a way to only get certain rewards once towards this account-wide progression. So it's like, if someone has a whole bunch of Korthite, if someone wants to keep farming a bunch of Korthite crystals, I think they should be able to. That's what they made those alts for. But when it comes to like the reputation, they'll only get reputation that one time. So you wouldn't be able to necessarily, I want to farm and I want to take my 10 alts and do this quest 10 times so I can get my Paragon box that much faster. That would be something that's debatable. There should be a conversation about that. I don't necessarily believe that it should let those people get Paragon boxes faster than anyone else. As for someone who has 10 alts and is running those dailies, and they happen to get 10 Paragon boxes all at once, okay, but that's because they put in that sort of work. But I don't know. Like I said, it's very, very debatable. I rather than make reputation be account wide, I just make profession patterns bind on account. I'm not fond of that either, because if professions or profession patterns are bind on account, then all you need to do is make a character, and then you have access to all these recipes. So that would also mean we need to consider, we would need to make like daily cooldowns, like shade stones. Those would need to be once per account. And that would piss hella people off. That would piss a ton of people off, because there are people who made alts specifically for that purpose. So again, there needs to be a conversation about how that would work out. But I'm of the stance where there's a line to draw when it comes to having account-wide things or account-shared things or skips or whatnot. And they'll be like on a... I want to think to myself that, okay, maybe we can have some sort of template where from going forward, these things can be skipped, or we can have that expectation where they would be skippable or count wide or whatnot. But yeah, I'm not sure. So I had more fun in Legion with legendaries being a random drop from endgame activity than Shadowlands crafting progressions. That's you, man. I'll tell you this. Legion was not my favorite expansion, and it was almost entirely because legendaries were like super random. That I didn't appreciate at all. That would be, one of those respecting my time sorts of things, because, I was challenged by that. If I wanted to roll another character and I wanted it to feel viable, I'm going to have to, do the campaign so I can get the relics, so I can get the extra relic slot. I would need to, artifact knowledge or whatever, that helped. But when it came to legendaries, there was nothing. Now, the solution would have been, just have a vendor for it or whatever. But going with how I felt at the time, I was challenged by it. I couldn't meet the challenge, and so I also make that sort of decision where I'm not gonna make it, or I'm not gonna do it. I'm probably not, there's a good chance that I won't get Keystone Master again this season, but that's something that I'm just gonna deal with, and not get pissed off about. I like rep account wide. We have it in the honor system. One currency for my individual, but also contribute to a greater total. I mean, well, as for honor the currency, that is definitely not account wide. But I guess I get what you're saying with the rewards. So that actually does make a pretty decent example. Although that's only tied to cosmetics. That's it. There is zero power that you get from the account-wide honor rewards. Like, that's it. You just have that shared rank and nothing more. But you get your pennant, you get your title, you get your mount or whatever, and like that's it. Each individual reputation though gives tangible items. So unfortunately, that feels like more of a case by case. Then there would need to be a conversation about each of those. Like, for example, a lot of the Venari and the Archivist Codex perks are account wide. I think we're learning that people that are getting to like the rank 5s, and accessing those and being able to upgrade those things, the Korthite gear to rank 5s, that is not account wide. And I think it should. I think that's one of those cases where you put in the work. You put in all that work. Should you need to do it again for each and every individual alt? The answer to that is maybe, because there's a lot of currency that you need to farm on those alts anyway, in order to get your gear to like that certain item level. It's a lot of stuff. I think you need 5,000 or 6,000. I think I believe it's more actually. But you need a lot of that research to get even like a few pieces. So ideally, you're going to have this whole behavior meta of, okay, I got to make sure I get a rank 3 Korthite piece. So that way I spend as few points as possible, but you're still spending a lot of points. Make it so that alts earn reputation 2 or 3 times, multiply. I hear that a lot too with regards to rep, and I don't think there's a point. Because the highest, at exalted reputation, what do you get? A mount, a tabard, for the most part. There are some exceptions, but I think I'll talk about those in a bit. But for the most part, what you get at exalted rep is account wide. So in a sense, that doesn't necessarily mean you're earning 2 to 3 times more reputation on alts. It's more like you don't need to earn another 16,000 rep on your alts because you already have the rewards. Does that make sense? So it's sort of the same, but not, because I get what you're saying. You just want to get that stuff faster. But now we're double dipping, right? Now we're double dipping because we already have revered rewards as the thing that has like all the, some of the throughput related stuff or recipes for contracts, that sort of thing. If we do get those multipliers back, then that means that those rewards are going to be bumped back up to exalted, probably. If you want both, okay, you want both, and then Blizzard will give you an answer, which so far is no, we're not going to give you both. So, but personally, I don't see a point in having the rep multipliers, not if the highest rewards are something that we just already have. And thank goodness for collection systems, man. Oh man, that's so good. Me just learning rank 5 Korthite gear isn't account wide. Oh, learning. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So I have a feeling though that just like everything else that has involved the Archivist Codex and Venari, or at least most things, that they're gonna be they're gonna cave. They're gonna make it account wide. I don't see why not. Valor upgrades with Keystone Master isn't account wide. That was something that surprised me a little bit too. Now, it's arguable that KSM is easier to get in this season, but I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. I like the Panda version. Once you're exalted on one tune, you get bonus rep towards getting reputation on alts. Yeah, I still stand by what I was saying before. I don't. There's no point. They lower the requirements. The highest stuff is account wide. Doesn't seem like a big deal. For alts, cool exalted thing is locked behind a weeks long timed experience. When I could farm up the currency needed for cool thing via, For alts, an exalted thing is locked behind a weeks-long timed experience when I could farm up the currency needed for a cool thing via gameplay acquired currency. 10 weeks into a patch, I don't see the point of waiting the weeks all over again. Let me gameplay it. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I know the conduit upgrade and socket upgrade are not account-wide, but I was pretty sure the item upgrades were. KSM is an account. I'm hearing that it's not. I can't test it myself though, because I only have Keystone Explorer. I only have Keystone Explorer, and I haven't done any mythics with my alts. So I would check, but I haven't because I'm bad at the game. But I'm hearing it from folks, and some folks are chiming in saying it too. What's funny is that before 9.1 or before 9.05 actually, I was saying, nah, it shouldn't be account wide. That's taking it a step too far. And now my tone has changed because we got it, right? It's like one of those boxes that was open that shouldn't be closed, but it was anyway. Whoops. And so I'm surprised that the outcry hasn't been as loud as it's been. Yeah. I think I do, but I don't. I thought I cared, but it wasn't a big deal. So because I don't do KSM anyway. So what perspective do I have, man? But seeing it change up again, I'm not fond of the inconsistency. But also, see, now I'm going back to the mindset that I had before, because conquest upgrades have never been account wide. I think that was the basis of my argument. That if conquest stuff isn't account wide, why are Valor things account wide? That seems kind of weird. But now it lines up in a way that some people don't like. You have lots of alts, but Blizzard's failing you. You have KSM. You tried upgrading a trinket on an alt, and it says I have to get a score of 1,000. Yep, that's how it seems. So yeah, the thing is, I haven't heard a lot of outcry over it. And I figured that, within like a week or two, people have been getting KSM, and I've been hearing that people are having an easier time, thanks to it not being prideful, and because of score, it just became easier to get. Getting exalted is mostly bottlenecked by time, having me re-experience that bottleneck when I decide to fire it up on an alt 12 weeks into a patch. Into a patch cycle feels a bit off. I also wonder, what are we getting? Rep rewards as a whole, what is that? What's the big significance on that? Before it was, we need another person that can do high level enchanting, or I really, really, really want that piece of gear. I remember in BFA getting to Revered Rep and getting I don't know what the item level was. I don't know what the equivalent was, but I got, I would get gear. I'd be like, oh, this is great. this is amazing. Or getting to Honored Rep, I believe, got you like a piece of gear, but getting Honored was that was really simple. That was the difference between 1 day and 2 days of rep farming or obtaining rep or whatever. But I think I do think that they should be more consistent on the reputation rewards. Some things have been consistent, like contracts and like I said, gear. But I think they need to clean up from the top. Okay, what about these exalted rewards? Is there anything that feels really advantageous or too advantageous that they could work on? Because I know that even back in Mist days, the whole extra rep thing, it wasn't enough. Because I definitely remember the continual bitching over having to rep grind again and again and again and again, doing the same freaking dailies, grr, blizz, because because during that era there were still a lot of rewards that were tied to exalted reputation, high-end recipes and that sort of thing. And there were and the dailies that you would do were limited, so people had to like really hard focus on certain things at the expense of others. So it was a different paradigm back then. But now we look back and be like, oh yeah, those rep things, they were so cool and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, but you remember everything else that came with it? Not everyone does, and so I don't see it being like super advantageous. So, in conclusion, for those of you who are watching the VOD, I do plan on taking a lot of these thoughts, thanks to the chat and thanks to like some of your guys' inputs, and I'll craft something shorter and more condensed, together. So if you want to watch that again, or watch and listen to this again, and save your discourse and all that for more, great. Totally happy with that. But until then, that's going to be it for this show. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.